Oh my God, everybody. What a fantastic day today. And I have to share, first of all, y'all, welcome to Beyond the Ordinary Show. We're in season 22, and it's been a while since Jared's been on the show. And the first time he was on years ago, um, the reception from the community and what was shared was so fantastic. And it's time again. And I think we've both grown in so many different ways. So what was so wonderful before, I can only imagine what's coming through now. And we've had some pretty amazing conversations, and the heart expansion that's available between the two of us that I feel, Jared. Um, there's been this growth, there's been this surrender and an expansion in the process. And I feel like we're all going through a process of that in so many different ways. So this is going to be an amazing call. Um, it's going to be so much fun and so expansive at the same time. And we're going to open up the lines for a Q&A with Jared. So y'all are going to want to take advantage of this. And Jared's special offer that we'll get into later is through the roof amazing, an immersion experience that I'm not going to open up the can of worms completely to just yet. Just by mentioning it, I want you guys to get excited about it. But it's going to be fantastic. Y'all are going to be super excited about this. So we're diving into Frequency Fest on BTO with Jared here today. And if you're new to Jared, which some of y'all may be, but some of y'all even from my community are very familiar. And I was receiving so many texts and messages on social media on how many of y'all were excited that the two of us were coming together again. So if you're new to Jared, just open your heart, or wait for your heart to be open. You won't be able to help it as we expand into the conversation. But Jared's a 4-time international bestselling author, multi-dimensional energy expert who specializes in visionary teaching and remote energy healing work that allows reconnection and healing at every level of being. He's a bridger of consciousness, and that term is coming up more and more prevalent for me, Jared. So I love that you bring that in.
Yeah.
He's an awakener of souls and catalyst for high-level vibrational change that has brought about quantum growth, abundance, healing, and instantaneous change and manifestation in the lives of millions of clients across the globe. The transformational energy he channels brings about change that goes far beyond the 3D reality and opens the self up to its truest and most connected experience of knowing divine love at every level of being. His natural abilities to see and transmute all forms of energy have helped him bring about the highest forms of planetary evolution and spiritual awakening in the world today. As a matter of fact, one of the things that April, my producer here on Beyond the Ordinary Show, who many of y'all know, is she's experienced Jared several times, and she's seen the audiences, and she acknowledges that what Jared brings is like, you feel loved.
Oh, that's cool.
Call.
Well, thanks, April. Yeah,
And
she started out like I remember when I first started doing stuff. She was with, yeah, she's been around. So thanks. I appreciate that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but thanks, April. Hi.
no, April's been a facilitator of different shows and help productions and so many other places, and I'm lucky to have her here on BTO. And Jared, that's what you bring. So y'all, welcome to the Frequency Fest. And Jared, good to have you, man.
Thanks, buddy. I like that you said y'all.
Y'all.
We're diving into the vernacular. Y'all, you got your Texas, I've got my Oklahoma. Y'all.
We have opened it up. Frequency Fest, Jared. Tell us about Frequency Fest.
So Frequency Fest, people who know me, I like alliteration. I like fun, because my own journey to get to that place was very dark. It involved, I had PTSD, I had really bad agoraphobia, anxiety, depression. All of these things at a very young age led to lots of physical things that were going wrong with me. Like, if I were just to describe it very simply, all of the kind of emotional beliefs that I had, all of the beliefs I had about myself, about I wasn't good enough, about I was broken, that I didn't fit in, that I didn't belong here, all of those things manifested as like literally me breaking and shutting down my body. So I had, lots of broken bones, lots of heart issues, lots of health issues and things like that. And so now when I do things, I know there are still a lot of people that are coming from that space of wanting to elevate. And I have found that by bringing some levity to the situation, we can still talk about all of the truth, and we can still really dive into, all of the honest, just the crap that, it doesn't feel good. But if we can do it in a sincere way, while also bringing a little bit of levity and remember our humanity at the same time, we really shift so much more than we would if we just were kind of really down in it. So Frequency Fest, we won't spill the beans just yet, but I look at everything as energy. That's my whole thing, is everything is energy. So our thoughts, like you could, put a little electrode. Well, some of you have had this happen, or I've had it happen with EKGs, right? They put little things on your body and they can monitor your heart rate. They can put little things on your brain, and they can read out your brain waves. And so they can also, there's been lots and lots of studies done where when people go into fear, they'll register a different electromagnetic response than when they're shown, like babies and puppies, and then they'll show like, snake or something like that. And it'll register a response in their electromagnetic field. So frequency, everything is energy, everything has a frequency. So for me, it's almost like, if you think of it in terms of like your life that you're living right now is a soup. And so you are the sort of total, it's like a recipe, like your life, you're the cook, you're the kitchen, you're the ingredients, you're all of it. And all of this comes together to form who you are. And so you take a little sprinkle of relationship, and you take a little sprinkle of work and success and career, and probably a lot of teaching and religion and mom and dad and all of the things that you thought you needed to be. And all of these things, they kind of comprise who we are. It's like a computer system with all of these programs running in the background. And sometimes we have, and it's like when we're born, we have this beautiful, pristine broth. And then all of a sudden, this kind of nasty, funky, yucky taste and stuff starts to get put in our soup. And we start to live these experiences. And so for me, Frequency Fest, the reason I'm kind of calling what we're doing Frequency Fest, is because it's about really learning to celebrate who we are, but also learning why we are the way we are, really getting into what are my core beliefs? What are the things that I believe because of what my true nature is, versus what are the genetic beliefs? What are things that I was maybe, handed at birth? Or what are the things, it's like, somebody will say, oh, they're just like their father, they're just like their mother. Those would be kind of genetic beliefs, things that we just were kind of handed down through the lineage that we never really start to question. Things of that nature. So it really is, our ascension, oftentimes we think of ascension as like this ladder, and it's not a ladder. It's coming from the heart, it's growing. And as we grow out, we also grow in, because we bring that love into who we are, and we really ground it, and we give ourselves this completely new awareness. And that awareness completely shifts how we see the world, how the world sees us, how we show up, how other people show up for us, and how we create. And so I know that's kind of a lot to hit all at once, but what we're doing is we're really looking at who we are, why we are, and who we want to become. And that's really, if you take the year 2020 and look at it as, 2020 vision, it really has been, and I've been saying this for quite a while, but you can look at it and see, okay, and this year has been all about who have we been? And not just who have we been individually, but who have we been collectively? Who have we been with regard to, history of how we treat each other as different groups? Or who have we been with regard to how we have worked on finding our joy, or how we have communicated with our family, or how we have communicated with the family of humanity. And then looking at who we are. So there's who we were, or who we've been, and then how that's created who we are, but also then being able to start to change and forgive and whatever work needs to be done there, so that we can create who we're going to be. And oftentimes we have the idea of who we want to be, but the actions that we're taking don't align with that. And so there's a dissonance, there's a non-resonance, and that non-resonance, we feel it as contrast. And then that contrast, we don't realize is there to show us how we can change. And sometimes we get mad at that contrast. We get angry about that contrast. I certainly experienced that in my life. But that's what this year is all about. And so Frequency Fest is all about really learning how to work the energy and learn who you are and what you are, so that you can start to create and be that change from within, and allow everything else to start to nourish you, support you. And really it's about change, but it's not that change of like, okay, you've built a house on sand and you want to remodel a room and the whole thing is shaking and you think changing that room will stop it. This is about the foundational work that allows you to not have to worry about those shifting sands anymore, so that the core of who you are is strong and sturdy, and that from that core, you start to create a whole new paradigm and experience of who you are.
That's wonderful, Jared. And so many things that you pointed out to in that short synopsis of the Frequency Fest are so resonant. And one thing that really stood out for me, because for me, this is also about where we're going and how we're getting there. And part of that contrast, it's also that resistance, that part of ourselves that doesn't believe that we can be that, that's resisting the newness of what's coming in, that's resisting success or the relationship that we're looking for, the dream or the house or whatever, the acceptance, the receiving and giving of love that we are always saying that yes, that we want to do. But because it perhaps feels so big, or we're re-identifying who we are, so that ego aspect, our interpretation of our ego aspect has to die. And that's huge right now. I think that a lot of the chaos that's going on in all of the world is because that new identification has taken place and things are coming to the surface that are saying, we don't know if we want to change. That's scary.
Yeah, well, like you said, so it's there is source, and then we are the individuation of that source. And so that individuation that we have, that we have that ego that says, okay, me, you, mine, yours, ours, theirs, other, they, me. So that starts to really kind of play into our thought process when we start to push against how we have defined me or mine or ours or them or they. And as we start to lift those things out, we realize, oh, wait, like there's a lot more common ground here. But to do that, a lot of our stories have to kind of go bye-bye. And as those stories are going bye-bye, it feels at a lot of layers and levels like a death, because that's who we have defined ourselves as. That is literally the song that we have been singing our whole life. It's the soup that we've been eating our whole life. And suddenly it's like, I had a broth-based soup and you're trying to put cream in this. You're ruining my soup. And it's like, no, I'm giving you something new. I've used the analogy before. It's kind of like we've spent our whole life trying to finish this puzzle. And it has been just this thing where we have been like obsessed with this puzzle, and we're down to where we have one more piece, John, and that puzzle will be complete, and we will be so proud and fulfilled, and look at what I've done. And suddenly the universe brings you, this piece, and you go, but this doesn't fit my puzzle. What, and you start to get really angry and you're trying to cram it in and it doesn't fit. And suddenly you get another piece. This doesn't fit either. This goes with this piece. What is going on? And the universe is bringing you a new puzzle. And we get super mad because we have so much time invested in that old puzzle. And that's kind of how our stories are. I mean, we've all done it. I certainly did it, even with my own, the illnesses and stuff. There was a part of me where even thinking about healing and moving through some things, it was like, but I've got 20 years invested in that story. You're telling me it's easy? Like, that offends me. But the part of me it offended was the part of me that really actually wanted to do it, but wasn't quite sure I could, or didn't really necessarily know that I wanted to, because then why did I suffer if it was really that easy?
Yeah, so amazing. So amazing when it comes through. I kind of want to redirect this a little bit, Jared, because this is so interesting. I'm feeling y'all so strongly, and it's so beautiful because I love the connection that's formed when we get on these calls. Jared, I have to ask you a very personal question.
Okay.
What does love mean to you?
Ooh, that's a really good one. The first thing that comes up, and this is maybe a step in love, but love is acceptance. And I'm talking about from a personal space. Love is, that's, I think, the best way I can describe it right now, because we have, as people, we have so much resistance to who we are, even at a physical level, how we look, all of these things play in, or then we get into our self-worth, and those stories about, shame and all of the things that we carry around with us. If we can accept that who we are is divine, and we can accept And that's not to say that like, okay, I'm accepting that I'm going to keep punching this person. But when we come from that space of divine love, right? That's, you know, there's no harm to the self, no harm to other. When we can accept who we are in that divine space, we can start to open the heart and start to feel into love. From there, what love is, that definition again changes as we go through kind of the dimensions and the layers of self. Love becomes connection. And what is love connection to? It's connection to nourishment. It's again kind of the same thing. It's connected to that total acceptance. But through that acceptance, you are nourished and you are held, and it's like this hug from an infinite being. I know a lot of us didn't have parents that were supportive, but if you can imagine the source, the creation of the entire universe, literally taking all of this effort, not that it was effort, but effort to create you, to literally count the hairs on your head, to count the cells in your body, for something to care that much about you, you can really start to understand and feel, not from the ego space, feel special, but to really feel that connection and that unity. And then love begins to be a unification thing where you start to feel one with everything. And that oneness feels so amazing that you just start to feel in awe. And then that awe opens you up to this beautiful space of knowing that you can really do and be anything you desire. And so then it becomes about freedom. And so I know I know I gave you a few answers there, John, but it really is kind of this unfolding process that has different layers and levels to it, because as we grow as human beings, as we move through those levels, love is this ever-changing space of freedom and discovery and embracing. And it really does come back to that connection and that acceptance and just that absolute, I'm tearing up, that opening, because that's what it is. And you just feel, it's just like when you experience it, nobody else can take that from you.
Mm-hmm. I say once love is given, it can never be taken away.
Yeah.
And what I love about your answer, the whole time through, I felt your connection to your self-love, but to your love for others simultaneously. It was both. It wasn't one or the other, and you weren't vacillating between the two. You were carrying it simultaneously. And the essence of that is just so beautiful to witness, and such a beautiful example of what's available when we're not in a place of survival where we think there's scarcity or we have to provide safety. It's so generous in its knowing and understanding of what you are, of what it is, of what the divine is sharing with us. So beautiful in that.
Thanks, man. Well, and the beauty in that too is that, so it gets into like boundaries are something that I've noticed come up for a lot of people. And there's this wonderful space where when you don't experience that, you feel this innate need to be saved from whatever situation you may be in. And you also can feel into having to save other people. So there's this codependent and dependent nature that we tune into, and it can really pull us off of our own path. When you feel that love, you act from that space, not because you have to save or be saved. It's like, here is a thing that you can do, or here is here's a rope, you can take it if you need to, but I honor your journey, whatever it is for you, because I know that your soul, I can see your soul, and whatever you're going through is leading you to that space where you also can open up to that. And so it really does set you free. And in that freedom, you can actually, it's just this, it's so ironic, but it's not, it's almost a paradox. In that freedom, you can love everybody even more because you're not in that place, like you said, of scarcity. There's no attachment to that. And that also opens up your channels of flow. That allows you to go out and live your best life. And that's the space where you open to inspiration, and you open to all of the things that, you kind of thought, well, I didn't really know what my inspiration was or what I was put here to do. You start to open up to that because you're in this whole different space.
Yeah. Well, and when you go from that attachment and that agenda, you go from giving and receiving love to just being love. And you hold so beautifully. It's just this whole different pillar of light that gets ignited, that lights up every darkness that you happen to cross.
That's a really beautiful way to say that. Yeah, you go from receiving, giving to being, and in that space, it's all there.
Wow, you become that one candle on the birthday cake that lights all the other candles.
That's right. I know. I saw that meme that said, "Remember when we used to eat cake after people blew on it?" I thought that was funny.
Oh my God, that's so funny. So, I'm gonna take y'all from like and all these sharp turns, and they're all gonna land because they're all related, truly.
Oh yeah.
But as we talk about love, as we talk about this connection, as we talk about the frequency fest, tell me how this relates to you in regards to money and what's going on around money right now with a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay. So money is interesting right now. So, okay. I'll first talk to you about freedom because when people ask me what money is, for me, and so for those of you that don't know my story with money, really quickly, I'll share it. So when I started out, I basically was kind of broke, moved out to LA. I hit it really big. I was doing entertainment stuff. And then I guess it was around 2007 when like all the banks and everything collapsed. And there was also a writer's strike. And so all of my work dried up. And so for about a year and a half, I had no work. So I didn't have, a place to live. My car was like 14 years old. So I had about $96,000 in debt. And I remember one day I just came in and I remember going to the mailbox and just every day it was like, oh, because I knew there was going to be more bills there. And it was just, every day was just like, oh God, how am I ever going to pay these off? And so I kind of worked through that space where I realized that there was so much resistance. So the first, again, going back to love, I had to accept the fact, and this is going to sound strange, but I actually got to a point where I sat down and I said, thank you, Bank of America, for loaning me, the $26,000 at 40% APR or whatever that I put on this credit card. But but really, honestly, it got me what I needed in those moments that I needed it. It got me food. It got me this. It got me that. So rather than being angry and feeling taken advantage of, I actually turned it into, and it took a while, but I turned it into thank you. And I started doing that with all of my different bills. So where I went to eventually with money is I was using it at the time as a means of control and safety. If I didn't have it, I didn't feel in control of my life and I didn't feel safe. And so from that space, I was basically saying to the universe, like, hey, I don't know that I create unless I have money. And the universe was going, oh, you don't know that you create. So we'll just keep sending, you don't know that you create. But I was thinking, well, I don't know that I create unless you give me money. So give me money so I can know. But the universe doesn't work that way. It just sends you where you're at. So by shifting that into realizing that money is expression, that money is freedom, that money is, I didn't birth into a time and space where I got to trade a goat for something I wanted, or chickens, or it was, okay, money is the system that I chose to come into. Can I let myself get rid of the judgment? Can I look at all of the things where I was looking at, well, money is a system of oppression and patriarchy and all of these things. And that's not to say that it hasn't been used that way, but could I let myself be big enough to be a change for good? And it's like, our friend Dee Wallace has always said, I can put a pile of money on the floor and go, money is the root of all evil. Well, that money's not doing anything. So it's clearly not the money that does it, it's the people. And so what I realized is money is expression. And so when that light bulb went off for me about money is expression, I really had to look at what is it I want to do? Who is it that I want to become? How is it that I want to express? Where is it that I'm limiting myself? And so right now on the planet, that's really kind of where people are feeling. Money has become this energy of embattlement. It's become this energy where they feel like they have to sacrifice their time or their health or their whatever it may be in order to get it. So it's become something outside of them. Whereas when you can really start to tune into the frequencies of money as expression. So like right now, this will be just really quickly, everybody tune into something monetarily that you would like to have. So whatever that may be. Now feel into the feeling that comes with having that thing. So just hold on to that feeling. We don't have to have the thing to have the feeling, but we were kind of have been entrained to think that we have to do that. When you can hold on to that feeling, you actually start to build your vibration into a space where you become in alignment with that, and then you attract it. So that's just a very simple thing. Always go to that end result. And sometimes you may say, well, this is the other thing. So freedom. A lot of people look at freedom as the escape from where they don't want to be. That's what freedom is. Real freedom is the ability and the opportunity to do whatever you want to do anytime you want to do it because you choose to do it. Freedom is choice. So if you are approaching the idea that freedom is an escape, what you're actually doing is feeding the energy of escape and the thing that you need to escape from. Therefore, you're feeding that beast and keeping yourself locked into that duality, that polarity. So if you can just start to feel into what freedom is for you, and I know like for me in that time, freedom would have been, well, okay, I want to pay my bills off, but what does paying my bills off bring me? Oh, well, it brings me back to feeling safe. It brings me back to feeling like I'm in control. Okay, well, can I let go of needing to control? Can I start to find a space in me that trusts the universe? I don't know if I can do that. Okay, well, let me back up then. Can I start to find a space where I at least can feel safe just right now in my little space? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, what does feeling safe bring me? Well, when I'm safe, I feel more confident. Well, what does confidence feel like? Well, I feel more happy. I feel like I can move more freely. Aha, what does that feel like? Okay, well, that just feels more like my essence. Okay, well, can I tap into that and let my essence shine through? And when you can do that, you really start to open that channel, because that is the vibration of that money flow.
Beautiful, beautiful. This is so cool. I haven't done an interview like this. And so talking about puzzles, I want to go to the next piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And what do you see happening in personal relationships right now? In relation to the love that we were talking about, in relation to the frequency that the collective is holding?
So the big word that pops up that I keep seeing is control. And it's in our interpersonal relationships, like it's in our relationship with ourselves, it's in our relationships with other people. And it even extends out to kind of the collective, where it's this energy where, for example, TV, news, politics, all of these things. And the overall energy of that is, and I know everybody stay with me, because we'll thread the needles and we'll crochet the picture here in a minute. We'll get it together. Right now we're just kind of making the knots. This is the space of, if you feel controlled, you then usually move into a space of wanting to control someone else, because through controlling someone else, you then gain that control back. And so there's this interesting ping pong match going on, because everybody feels like, I'll use this example. This is a great one. So I remember, and I've used this before, so some of you have heard me say this, but like being a kid, I don't remember, it was like a blue polo shirt, I think. There was a shirt I really liked and I was going to wear it. And I pulled it out and I put it out for myself, and it was like, I'm gonna wear the shirt. I remember my mom came in my room and she's like, I really like that shirt. You should wear that shirt. And I was mad at her for something that she had done at the time. And I remember immediately the fact that, remember, like, I liked the shirt, I was gonna wear it. But the fact that she was like, you should wear that, I immediately was like, this shirt, I'm never wearing this shirt. I hate this shirt. I'm gonna burn this shirt. I'm mad. And so that's kind of a good kind of encapsulating example of what's going on within relationships right now, because people are trying to find a steady footing for who they are, and then find a place in them that feels sovereign. And then they're feeling like other people are maybe encroaching on that sovereignty, and they're not really sure how to maintain their own space and maintain their own vibration. And part of that is because we tend to want to give other people power. We want to let other people be in a space of authority, because that lets us off the hook. I'll use it as like a dirty word, responsibility. Because a lot of us, it's almost like some of us got into energy work to get rid of the responsibility of creating physically in the world. Like it became this like escape. It was like, I'll just do the energy and then like it'll all happen. And it's kind of like I have some water over here, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do the energy work so that water gets in my mouth. But like, to get the water, I have to pick the water up and drink the water. And so that was kind of a step that because I was certainly guilty of that in the beginning as well. And so there is this space and place where we want other people to have that responsibility because we don't want it. But then when it ultimately comes back to it, we have to be reminded that this is the space that we are sovereign in. And what I'm seeing in relationships are a lot of people, because they feel out of control, there's a pain in them. And so they're wanting to control other people, or they're actually wanting to be controlled, because and I know that sounds weird and we all go, I don't want to be controlled. But look at your reaction to, if you see a thing in the mail that says IRS, what's your immediate reaction? You know, most people go, oh, this is my money back. Most people go, ah. So that's that space where it's like, oh yeah, like I'm letting other things control me. And if you're letting it, there's some part of you that's creating it. And so we have to really look at, okay, this again goes back to that foundational understanding of who am I, but not just who am I, why am I? I saw something earlier today that it said, I am what I am. And it was basically somebody kind of like, you know, don't try to change me. I am what I am. But they were using it also in a spiritual context. And I thought it was interesting that they said, I am what I am, rather than I am that I am. Because I am what I am was kind of like, I'm not changing. That's what I am. As opposed to I am that I am is I am. And I am that which I declare. And so there was much more power in that. And so it's getting back to that space of really understanding you have the power. And then it's not really, I'll say power in quotation marks, because it's not about that power that is exercising a force over someone or even over yourself. When you can tap into who you truly are from that heart space and open up, everything shifts and changes to where it's like, oh, this is who I am. And all of this stuff around here, that's noise. I can literally tune that down and it doesn't affect me. Like I just groove and move. And yeah, maybe that looks weird to some people. And they're like, oh, why aren't you affected by this? It's a choice.
And it's a vibration and it's a frequency. And again, it's related to what I mentioned before also, which is also related about money. So again, we're putting the threads together, guys. Again, we're weaving this. That part of what's happening in relationships now is also the disparity of the fear that we're opening to, because we are expanding. Our capacity to feel as empaths has become exponential. And in that, our capacity to want to love even more has increased, to express it, but then not feeling safe in it and stepping out in it as light workers, as leaders in loves that you all are. And I say that the world will be saved by the empaths. Not that the world needs saving, but it'll be expanded. The heart expansion will come from that love that you so uniquely feel and guide others into. So,
oh yeah. Well, I love how you said that too, because it really is that space of, oh, you said it perfectly. I won't even.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that it's being able to, because a lot of people have been hurt from that love before, right? We opened up and we loved. Well, now as empaths and as people who are open and as people who are, moving into that open heart space at a much higher, deeper level, we're moving into that space. And it's like, we're having there's actually a lot of old lifetime templates of like Lemuria, Atlantis, those places where, okay, in this place, I got really in my head and it was all about science and it was all of this, but it fell out. Then there was this place where I was all in my heart and I was so yay, it fell out. I told a joke the other day. I said, there's the Lemurian heart, because we have to find the balance here. And that's what's going on. And the Lemurian heart would be like literally a little squishy heart going, I love wheels. I see a big semi truck rolling down the street. I'm going to go hug that wheel. Well, you get flattened. And that's how a lot of us have experienced love, because we've had such open hearts and we've been run over by semis. And so this is that space now. And that's there's also a lot of that fear where if I step out in my love, am I going to now become a target? Am I going to be shouted down for that love? And so when you can merge that space of the head and the heart, and you can really have that resonant connection between those two, you can move into that space of wholeness. It becomes, when I talk about the brain, I don't mean just the mushy stuff in your head. It's that whole electromagnetic field, which includes the heart, and it's everything. It's your ascended heart of who you truly are, who you were put here to become. And it's all of the knowledge and the nos that you carry from that direct connection to source. So being able to live that empowered life and coming from that space of this is who I am, this is what I know. And when you mix that and merge that with having the freedom to express, not having that attachment or that codependency with other people, but you can be there by choice. Being there by choice and showing up by choice is so much more powerful than that fear vibration or whatever those other vibrations of codependency and relationships are, that really the definition of love becomes something completely limitless, and the boundaries, the ceilings that you've put in different areas of your life completely lift off, because your frequency literally can't be contained within those bounds.
Yeah, again, and that's the true place of sovereignty. That's where you become your own source and your own supply. And then you can't help but to engender that in others because you don't seek anything from them. So again, it becomes agendaless in your requirements of what others are supposed to be with you, and they get to show up in their art, in their creative expression, in their form of love. And then you can see how you want to dance together in that. And that's when the fun really starts happening.
Yeah, 100%. That's the big, and I want to actually kind of move a little bit of that as we're talking right now, because so as we're entering into that heart space, what kind of came up along with that fear was I'm not supposed to be here and I don't belong. It went into some of those past lives, but it went up into what I call star particle energy. And that star particle energy is like the first time we ever individuated from source. So the way it would look is kind of like, I'll use this is just an analogy, but it's like we're floating around, everything's great, and there's oneness, and we can do anything. And then like, whoop, oh, now I'm this individuated thing, and I'm looking over here, well, I know I wanted to do that, but then that veil drops, and it's like, why did I do that? Because it was over there, and oh man, and then we do it again, and then we do it again, and then we do it again, and so we get further and further out, and so it starts to look like I'm never going to get back there. And then when we do try to get there, go back, you can look at, Salem, you can look at the crucifixion, you can look at all of the different places in history where basically, people on the rising civilizations have always had that fall. And so we have that, we carry that within our DNA. And it's like, okay, it's time to let that go. It's time to clear those peptides, and it's time to release those memories and move into the space where from that star particle energy, we open back up to remembering what it was to be source, and then what it was to be source made individual. Well, so you get to this cool multidimensional space where you are the individual, you are the observer, and you are source all at the same time. And so I'm just going to bring a little bit of that frequency into the call. I use the creation formula. That was something Dee and I came up with. I have extra symbols and things that I use, but I'm just going to bring a little bit of that in. So everybody just direct your energy centers to open up. And it's not just your chakras. You have literally millions. So like any place where we birth to the light, connect to the light, which is like every atom, every beyond the atom, it's the space, right? The source field. And then beyond the source field, what creates the source field? Source. So it's beyond all of that. Just direct yourself to open up to that energy and let that, there we go. I feel leg energy, which that's empowerment. So we'll just start to bring that energy through so people can really start to get a sense of their power on this call. And that power can start to anchor in. And now I'm getting a little a flicker up here. So we're going to bring in a little bit of an emerald energy into the third eye. And that's just about opening you up to truth. And we'll bring a little ruby energy as well, and through the crown, through the back of the head. And that's empowerment. And so we'll just bring some of those rays, and we'll just let those energies flow while we're talking. And also a little bit of golden light right here through the throat. The golden light, the way I describe that is kind of like source in action. Like whenever I see the white light, that's just like that pure source. When I see the golden light, it's like pure source physicalized, made manifest through us and through action. And so it has that active tone to it. So we're going to bring that through the throat as well.
Nice. I could feel that. My throat's really lit up right now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
My legs are like, I feel like mighty oak trees in my legs right now. It's very rooted and grounded.
Wow. Amazing. Y'all, we're going to start with Q&A here in a second, and we're going to get into the special offer. The third part of the puzzle I wanted to bring in, Jared, and I want to make sure we have time for all the other things.
Yeah.
But I find that the aspects of our lives, they all harmonize, and if one's out of balance, then it kind of kilters the other ones a little bit also. And the other aspect is health right now, and how our bodies are attuning to different energies and to the collective and all that. What's your perspective around that?
That's big time. So, and I'll tell you my own story with that was anytime that I got close to my power, my health fell out. Anytime that I got close to a job that I wanted, my health fell out. So I use sickness as, and I really, it took me a while to kind of put these together. I used sickness. Sickness became a way from a very early age. Again, going back to all of those beliefs about being broken, sickness became a way where I got to both escape life because I didn't fit into life and I didn't want to. So that got me removed from life, but I also got love and attention by being sick. So I learned very early on that if I would, and it wasn't like a conscious thing where I was like, I'm going to, throw myself down the stairs today because I don't want to go to school, but it was that kind of a thing. And as I grew, like I said, I'd get very close to a job, and then like I would have this massive freak out and couldn't do something. And so with health, if you look at it like a symphony, and maybe health are our strings and money are the drums, and we have all of these different things playing out, and we are the sum total of that symphony. And oftentimes we have this belief in what balance is, and it's basically a set point for us. And we cannot, it's almost like, this is a nerdy video game analogy, but sometimes when you build a character, you have like 100 points, and you can allocate those points to, you know, their strength or their aerial abilities or whatever it is, but you only have 100 points. And so you can have max over here and 0 over here. Well, as people, we kind of have those set points that we have created through our experiences, or that we have learned through our experiences and validated, because our minds seek to self-validate. So any kind of those genetic or core beliefs that we have, we will continue to validate them and experience them, because we, at some level of energy, that frequency is broadcasting and we keep bringing it in, but also the mind keeps wanting to validate it. So with health, there's a lot in people where they don't believe that they can have maximum everything. There's got to be a limit somewhere. Their pie chart always has to have a little piece in it that's like that piece of pie from the Help that's made out of poop. And they've always got to have that. But there's also that space where, as the vibrations are really, really getting, I'll say like, well, they're just insanely high on the planet right now. It's kind of like if you took a glass and you put it on a table and you played, I have all these little fun frequency machines. If you turn the frequency way up, that glass will start to shake, the water will start to shake. And at some point you can turn that frequency up so high that glass will shatter. And so as people, what we are experiencing and what we're being asked to really do is get our vibration, raise it, 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 so we can hold that frequency. Because if you start out, you know, and this is non-judgmental, because this is just, we've all been there. If you start out in the mud and then you go from here and you try to go up to here, it's going to be very hard to hold this frequency when you're so used to this. You're going to snap back down. You're going to have a space where energy flu is a good example, where you'll do a lot of work and then your body will get sick because it doesn't quite know how to integrate all of the different changes. But on top of that, that's kind of the high vibrational aspect. There's also the resistance to that vibration going on collectively, which causes a pushback in the field. And a lot of people feel that. And so then what that does is that lowers, and we start to feel that. So we get inflammation, which is often anger. We cramp up. I've done scans and different things. Fibromyalgia will often show up, like body pain. But I have like a metaphysical book, and the reading on that is, I'm on my last damn nerve. That's literally how it says. And so there's also that in the consciousness, but where that arises is come on, people, let's get it together. Let's move into that space of love. However, that space where we're going, come on, people, is really the space where, okay, where am I depending on other people to do it for me? Where am I attached to them doing it, therefore trying to control them, or allowing myself to be controlled, my life to be dictated by how they live their lives? And how can I move back into my sovereignty, which then that raises our frequency, allowing us to hold our space, which ironically goes back to that candle where everybody else starts to move and resonate up because we've moved into that space. Did that answer the question okay?
That answered it beautifully. And again, it ties in all of these aspects that really make up major components of where a major part of our frequency goes to consciously, and the fears and the imbalances and what's becoming available as we step into it. And so you're providing, again, the awareness of the frequency as we transcend into a greater experience of what's available to us when we meet a particular vibration at the higher vibration that it's inviting us into. So this is wonderful. This is so good, guys. Jared, I want to get into Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we do that, we have to go into your special offer. Before we go into the special offer, y'all, what's a Zoomie? Y'all keep typing in Zoomies. What's a Zoomie? Someone explain that to me, please.
I can tell you what it is. So I've done a few Zoom calls, and they've started calling them Zoomies, where we'll get little light beings will kind of fly by. I've been looking at you. I haven't seen things, but sometimes they'll just zigzag and move, and it's just kind of the.
I love it.
angelic. Oh, I just actually, right as I did that, I saw one start moving over here. It's the angelic presence starting to flow through, and sometimes people can see them on the screen.
See, now that we have awareness, they may show up even more. So that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Y'all, Jared's package, it's like full on. This is exciting. There should be a special offer button above this video where you're watching this call from. Click on that special offer button right underneath Jared's picture. If you can't find it there, go to the chat box, and April has typed in the link for the special offer there. You can click on that, or go to your web browser. If you jumped off to a full screen Zoom page, you can go to your Google, Safari, whatever browser you're on, and type beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Jared22, and it'll take you to the same page. And Jared, man, I don't know how much time we have, as much time as we need. Let me put that.
Yeah, cool. I got nothing.
We're open, and this, even listening to what you're offering here is a transmission in itself. So guide us through what you've put in this special offer for Beyond the Ordinary Show.
Yeah, I'd love to. So the very first thing I do, which is something that I do in most of the programs, is that I'm going to do 15 minutes of remote energy work every day. So frequency. So just like we did like a little like 1 minute sample, I'm going to do 15 minutes every day, kind of tuning into everybody, seeing what's going on. But along with that, I always offer, it's my own separate membership site. It's not like Facebook. So you get access to that where you can ask me questions. I was on there. Somebody asked me today if I ever slept, because I was on there at 4 o'clock in the morning. But, you know, people will say, this is going on in my life. What's going on here? What's going on there? So basically you can talk to me for the whole length of the program. Because I also believe, I mean, and you know me, this is my belief here, that as we're going through these things, we change, and sometimes we will have our conflicting beliefs will come up and clash. And it's like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like, you gave me this, but I don't know how to integrate it. So I think it's important to be able to coach people through that personally. I'm going to do something that I've not ever done before, which I'm really excited to do. I'm going to take that daily work that I do. Like, I'll also be doing work on the group as a whole. And I'm going to actually record and send out like little daily doses of inspiration and empowerment. So every day you'll get an email, and there's something else with the email too that I'll talk about in a minute, but you'll get a silent MP3 track, which will be, it won't be totally silent, because you'll hear kind of some of the frequencies, and you might hear me on the microphone, you know, doing all my stuff. But I'm going to do that every single day. I've not ever done this before. This is the first time. So I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm also very excited about it, to see kind of what comes from it. Then I'm doing with that email. So it's going to come with what is called a deposit from source, or a bank. I forget how I phrased it. It was cute. It's cute how I phrased it. But this is something that I did a year or two ago that people really, really thought was cool. Every day you're going to get this source bank deposit, and there's going to be 5 questions. I think it's 5 that will, you'll get a certain amount. And then it's going to ask you to ask yourself questions about this amount. So we're really going to be also working your money energy, like what you think is too much, what you think is too little, where you have resistance, what you think you have to do to get money, like where all of your blocks are. And you're going to get that every single day as well. So we can talk about that. That's just kind of the beginning of the stuff. So then I've got a whole bunch of new tracks. These are, a lot of times I will do journeys, and there are some of those in the bonuses where I will guide you through them. Since this is Frequency Fest, for anybody who's ever experienced my 52-week programs, which was, I think, the first thing John and I ever did together, it's energy, frequency, and then I put music over it. And so you can listen back. And so what I've done is I had a set of journeys that I went through, and because I have done so much voiceover work, I've got my own little audio setup. I took out the vocals, I took out the music, so that there's just the energy. Then I layered it back in with, I had it in my notes somewhere, but I can kind of remember it. There was like basically pure white light. I put in an energy of abundance. I put in vitality. I put in awakening. I put in that receiving and giving, so that you can be in that state of being. And there were a few other ones as kind of the bass track. And so from that, then I remixed it with music and amplified it. So it's just, this is the other cool thing. So there's, with the silent tracks, because I've got them actually playing right now, even though nobody can hear them, just because I had somebody come over the other day. She's going through a divorce, and she came in and she goes, "Your house just feels so good." And so I actually sent her some of these. But you'll get like little 2-minute clips of the silent tracks. The musical tracks are all right about 20 minutes long. So you'll get the long versions, you'll get the silent versions, then you'll get little versions of those. And if the first one is, oh, and they all come with symbols as well. And I want to talk about the symbols really quick. So for those of you that are familiar with light language, it's kind of like, the way I describe light language is, it is the, like, you know how like you can look at like Latin as the root language for, or Greek or whatever. It's the root language for, you know, Spanish and French, and light language is the root language of energetics. And so this is a space that is latent in the creation field of all creation. And so this is a written form of that, and it awakens within you that which you already know. That part of you that is source connects to that. So I included symbols with every single one of these. So there's becoming the source field, which is all about taking you into this space of literally becoming one with the source field and manifesting through the cosmic rays of expansion. And I talked a little bit about the green and the emerald and the gold, but there's also orange for vitality. We've got all of the energies combined move into the space of being you connected to not just your higher self, but moving into that space where a lot of times we have past lives that we kind of connect into here. This is the space of going, okay, I'm letting all of those past lives have their direct connection to source. And I, in this space, am letting go of all of that. I'm going to keep the knowledge. I'm going to keep all of the things that I need to keep and want to keep and desire to keep. And I'm going to open up where it's just me and source and nobody else. Because a lot of times, and we don't always do it, you know, purposefully, but with healers or with teachers or with spouses or, you know, whatever, we give our power away and we create these little cords where we think we have to go through them in order to get our answer or to get our healing or to get our abundance. And this is a place of aligning you, like I get goosebumpy when I talk about it because it's such a cool experience, of aligning you to that space and bringing you back into power and harmony. So if you want to look at the page, there's letting go, releasing everything, which is like, who doesn't want to just kind of go, oh. There's magnetic money flow, because like I said, we're really going to look at money this month. Feeling connected to love, which is such a big thing. And like I said, these all have symbols. They all have the long versions, the short versions, the music. You're going to love them. Then there is expanding beyond set points. That would be the space where like you feel like you can only get so far and then you snap back. It looks at our definition of what balance is. It really brings us into a space of letting go of all of those ceilings that we have. Fear clear, that is a space where a lot of us could use right now, just out in the world, right? Like we get plugged in. There's expanding into my divine design, which is who you really came here to be. It's your ability to experience happiness and have your divine right destiny, which is to know that you are that source and to create the life that you want to create, become manifest. I'm scrolling down here to look. We've got releasing loneliness. That was one that, because of so many people being on lockdown, and even people who are not on lockdown, just the way that our society has become, where there's this kind of perception of otherness, or we create, there's the otherness there, and then there's us here. And so it's just the space of like knowing that you can let all of that go and really, really feel loved. And then there's the Great Awakening, which is all about that galactic heart opening. And so that's like the beginning of the program. I know you said it was huge. It is. I've also got what I call the Crystal and Meridian Energetics program. So this again is, I talk a lot about opening our own ley lines. Like we know that there are ley lines within the planet. We have our own ley lines, and physically there's our body's meridians, but those correspond to other spaces. And a lot of times we'll talk about our crystalline body. And like, this is a total dad joke, even though I'm not a dad, but this is a dad joke, where it's like, okay, what's our crystalline body? You're not going to turn into a geode, but it's that space where those crystalline spaces have all of the different knowledge and all of the different spaces. They all represent something within who we are and how we can access and really tune into all of the knowledge and the nos of who we truly are. So when you combine that energy with our meridian energy and opening those up, and we go through all of the different meridians. There's like a 90+ page ebook that I put together that has maps of the meridians, has descriptions of the crystals, has descriptions of what those do. So it has descriptions of what the tracks are opening you up to. So that's like its own thing. We're going to do weekly calls. Like I said, we've got the membership site. I'm going to do a journey broadcast. That's one where I'll weave a tapestry of the spoken word journeys. And then there's a whole bunch of bonus stuff. There's a 22-minute video technique to really clear your space and to let go of all of the old stuff and manifest. Journey wise, as far as what's guided, I've got the balance of change. And this is all about that change that we're experiencing and being able to integrate it in a balanced way. That's got a symbol as well. And then there's guidance, wisdom, and love, which is receiving all I am. So that's really about opening up and allowing that space within you to flourish with that connection of love and what it is to be human and what it is to have the earthly experience, but to have it from the perspective of knowing that you are divine. Then I put in the creation formula. Some of you, your listeners, may have the original sheet that Dee and I did. This is an ebook where I've added extra. There's symbols that specifically look at belief systems. There's one for quantum healing. There's one for our home symbol, like how we define home. There's a few more. So there's a 27-minute walkthrough with that and an ebook that you get there. There's a couple of master classes. You get my new book on audio. You get Love, Life, God on audio. So anyway, I don't want to take up more time. I want to get to the Q&A, but there's a whole bunch of stuff if you want to read about it. And like I said, during all of that time, I'll be doing the group page, where you can blog, you can ask questions. I'll be posting content. So I'll be answering all of your stuff every single day. So it's a really, really immersive, and at the same time, you can take whatever you want. Some people may just want the tracks, because again, if you do the full program every day, I'm sending also out a new track based on the energy of what we're seeing. And 6 months from now, you might go, hey, I remember that one day there was a track that really dealt with abundance that really helped me clear some stuff out. I'm going to go back to that track. So it's stuff that you'll have forever. And it's just, I'm really excited about it because I've not really ever done anything like this before.
Is there a start date to this, or is it kind of like a perpetual?
Yeah. So when you sign up, you get all the downloads, and I'll start doing the daily work automatically. So if you want a little bit of a boost and you feel like, yeah, I need it. The overall program, let me see here. I gotta go back over to my calendar. I think, I want to say, it's on the page, I think, but I want to say it's like the 8th, August 8th. Is when we're actually going to start. So that's the day that the emails will start going out. I'll open the site up a little bit before that so everybody can kind of get acquainted and start asking questions. But that's the official date where your first money email will go out. You'll get your first track and all of that. But you'll get all of the material ahead of time so you can kind of be caught up, because I know it's a lot of material.
I love different aspects of this so much. First of all, how you're playing with money. And getting the visceral, getting our somatic response and awakening to our sensuality. And truly, that's what you're doing. It's like, we could be waking up to the fear, to the retraction, but no, it's an exercise in sensuality. And y'all feel that.
100%. That's really what all of it is, because again, so many times, and I mean, I've done this in my own life, we're asking for something, right? We really want it. But then having it means we have to change a certain part of who we are and how we are. And it's like, ooh, that feels weird. I don't know how oh my God, I didn't realize it felt weird. So wait, what does that mean? And there's all of these components that go with that. So for me, again, and that's part of, I mean this not in an egoic sense at all, but where I can see the energy and kind of get the whole picture of stuff. That's why I like to do all of it the way I do, because we can really like hit because some people might be wanting to work on money and then they find out, wow, my kink in that hose was about relationships, or they're working on this, but oh my God, when I was 7 years old, this thing happened and that's what started it. And so we really start to unravel it and you really learn who you are. And when you know who you are, and you can change who you are and create who you are, I mean, that is from the ascended space. That is the power that says to the mountain, move, and the mountain goes, I'm out of here,
Sovereignty, your own supply, or your own source. It keeps coming up and up and up, and so wonderful. And y'all, the special offer is $297. There's a 2-payment option. Dive in. You should see already all the testimonials in the chat box. I've been reading them as they've been coming up and listening at the same time. Amazing special offer. You know where to find the special offer button right above the video on the webcast page.
Somebody just said you really need to add more stuff. This seems sparse. Oh, well, she's joking, but yeah, I know.
You went by when you said that, by the way. But what also is really strongly, all of it's resonating for me so strongly, but a part that really brought up some of my passion right now, and I've never spoken into it in today's call, but the loneliness aspect. of what you bring in. And for several reasons, it's also because of where we're heading. And we have to be willing to feel into that, because sometimes where you're going into vibrationally, it could feel like you're the only one going there. And so to get into that sensual experience and allowing it to acclimate through you, to for you to attune to it, not stopping short thinking I've got to get rid of this. COVID has made us pause, and in that pause we've had to be with ourselves and others in a way that we haven't had presence with before. And in the growth that's emerging from all of us, there's that fear, there's the excitement, there's the potential to be the only one in that space for a while. And in that, it evokes old feelings of being afraid, being alone, being abandoned, all the things that go with loneliness, and new feelings. Well, if I head there, who's going to join me? Am I going to be the black sheep? Am I going to be the one leading the herd, not really knowing where the path is paved? And so how it's balancing out again, Jared, and how important it is that you're bringing intimacy again into these aspects of ourselves is just so profound for me right now.
Well, and you're right, because then it also turns into, you know, am I going to leave people behind? Am I going to be left behind? What is all of those things come up. And once you really let all of that go, it's like, oh, wow, like sovereignty. You said it a minute ago. It's that space of sovereignty, but we really are, like I said, who we've been, who we are, and who we're going to be, and who we are going to become. And, you know, there are some bumps along the way. And these are all of those tools so that we can kind of, instead of, you know, hitting them every time, kind of start to rise above it and really see it from a new perspective as we glide through it and realize, okay, this is part of the growth process. And I don't have to hit that wall every single time. I've got it. I know what this is. And just even in having the membership site, it just gives you a space where you can talk to people who are going through the same things or have been through the same things, that can say, hey, you know, you're not the only one that feels this way, or you're not a freak for having this belief, or whatever it is. It's just a really, it seems an ego space to say validation, but it really is validating. And to be able to, sometimes that's what people need, is to just be validated. And even if it's, yeah, I experienced this, but I was taught it's not okay to voice my pain because I don't want to perpetuate that story. But if you're resisting the story, you're keeping it pent up. And so if you'll just validate it and share what it is, you can see, wow, this thing that has literally reigned over my entire life because I was afraid of it, I have power over it. I have sovereignty over it. I can cast it off if I acknowledge it. And it's a really powerful thing.
And the compassion comes in, Jared, when we become aware, when we remember that we were taught to stop those emotions short. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to be angry. You're not supposed to be sexual. It's uncomfortable for other people. It's not appropriate. You're a nuisance. You're too much. You're not enough. All these things. And so whenever it would come up in us, in children, just because of our culture, forget our parents, it's enculturated.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the system. And so because we've been caused to stop when it came up, instead of allowing it again to flow through us, to attune to the emotions so that we can get back to our center, we lost a part of ourselves. And so to get back to that and to know that we're not only safe in it, but it's actually power, and to acclimate that power of our intention of love, that's huge. It's a game changer. And that's what you're bringing to the table.
It puts all of those things together, and it literally is like we started talking about the puzzle pieces. It's like, oh, I have this. Oh, I have this. Oh, I have this. Wow. Suddenly I'm in total alignment by doing all of those things. It really is a game changer.
So y'all, again, the special offer, $297. Click on the special offer button. There's a 2 payment option. And what can I say? Just one of these items, just one of these tracks are worth it. And for me, I'll tell you why. When I asked the question of Jared of what love meant to him, it was both. It was a self-love and a love to others at the same time. And when anyone is teaching from that apex, the vibration of what becomes available is inclusive, and it's an invitation to the wholeness of who you are. So in this resonance, you can't help but to shift exponentially. And the fact that this generosity of being has been added in this special offer so that you can experience it in various ways just speaks the world to me. speaks volumes of what is available to you by interacting here. So take advantage of it. Special offer button, beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Jared22, or the link is in the chat box. Amazing. Amazing. And Jared, with that, if you're open to it, let's go into some Q&A. This will be fun.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So, okay, I'm going to go to some live callers first. There's some questions in the Q&A first, but for those of y'all who raised your hand, I'm going to actually make you a panelist if I can find my cursor on here. And when I do, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and to turn on your video. And I would love to see you on video. So again, we're going to dive into this. And the first caller that I want to take, let's go to Mary Elizabeth. And so Mary Elizabeth, I've made you panelist. If you could unmute yourself and turn on your video, and it's probably popped up on the bottom of your screen where you can do that if you're not familiar with Zoom. Mary Elizabeth, calling Mary Elizabeth, are you there? Oh, she hung up.
Oh,
wait,
oh, no. What?
Oh, wait, she has unmuted herself.
The joys of being live.
I know, Mary Elizabeth, can you hear, can you talk, please? And maybe as you figure that out, Mary Elizabeth, I'll come back to you in a second. I'm going to mute you because I know sometimes there's technical difficulties on this.
Well, and I'm going to go back while you do that, John. I'm going to go back just tuning in there. So there's this little people that said, or this little space that just said, and I know I touched on this core belief, but that's what popped up is I'm not supposed to be here and I don't belong. It went from her, it was on her mom's side. So it was this kind of little girl energy of like wanting to be bright and wanting to shine. And then like, oh, the spotlight's on me. I need to slowly get off the stage because it's kind of like freezing when you create, freezing when you, well, joy, freezing when I'm in my joy. So we're going to invoke the formula around that for everybody. Any part that there may be an addendum there. And then I get happy birthday. So it's about being reborn into the joy. Hello, I see we have someone on. Oh, Mary Elizabeth is on there now.
Hi.
I see her.
And Mary, let's see if you can unmute. There you are. Well,
hi, Mary Elizabeth. Can you hear us? Well, you can hear us. We can hear you, I think. Can you talk?
No, Mary Elizabeth's not moving her mouth. All right, Mary Elizabeth, we'll try to come back to you. I'm going to keep you on. And now let's call on Isabella. And Isabella, I'm going to unmute you and welcome to the call.
Hi.
Hi, Isabella. How are you?
Good. I also popped in a question in the Q&A, so.
Oh, I'm learning all kinds of things. I'm in the Q&A box right now. Whoop.
I've muted Mary Elizabeth. Isabella, what's your question for Jared?
All right. Let's see. I was trying to see if I could find the one that I put in, but I just realized this morning, I was reading an email that somebody sent out about pieces of yourself that you've repressed, and something in the email triggered which piece it was for me because I don't have a lot of memories, but it's the part of me that's big and boisterous and passionate and feisty, and it was unwanted and shamed out of me. So I have felt myself throughout my lifetime suppress and suppress and suppress until now it's like I've gone from like color to black and white, and I'm just flatlined, like I don't even recognize myself as having a personality anymore.
Yeah, so we're going to what self-love means for you. When I go into, it's also, so I'll tell you the terms as we talk. So peptides are the places in our body where we store the memories, but beyond just within our body, we can also have kind of the energetic peptides, which is where we store the beliefs about who we are in relation to our creation with source energy. Immune system comes up for you, and that's the place where you have fought off your own light because your light equals, give me a song. Just first song that pops into your head.
Oh, Can't Buy Me Love.
Okay. So your light equals not being able to create expression from the money and not being able to express or be a part of love. And if you cannot express or be a part of love, you would absolutely shut down, because that's the belief about who and what you are. So interestingly and paradoxically, how that collapses in your field is self-love equals the absence of all love. Therefore, black and white, flat line. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I want to go to with that, well, we're going to first just let these be your words. I create my life now as the direction of my light. Then we are going to invoke what it's the cocktail, for those of you that are familiar with D. It's in the ionosphere and beyond, which is where we put stuff out in our field. The charge of your I am presence. We're directing the charge of your I am presence to receive the light and love of who you truly are beyond the stories. There's a part of you that says, I don't want to. So that means that we're looking at what change means for you. You laughed, so that resonates. So it's the memory of being poisoned. And what that basically means is, when that shows up for people, is that the last time I did this, so I'm not going through with this shit, is how it looks in your field. I'm not going through with this again. So that equals self-creation is sabotage. So now we're going to, if I don't know what to expect, I'm not going to be okay. And my intellect and my heart can't integrate, because when I'm connected to the I am, I'm not safe. So that brings up safety. That brings up an energy of abandonment, abuse, and not belonging. And that leads into you for, I don't want to be God. So it goes back to your experience and expression as love. That tunes into fear for you. That goes back into the immune system, which I said came up a minute ago, which means that you're afraid to connect. Therefore, you fight off the love. Okay, now we've got enough. Now we're going down to, I'm going to read this and let these be your words. I direct the dissolution of all bonds between any and all frequencies. We'll do this for everybody, which may be holding me in duality, polarity, or from committing 100% to the creation of that which I truly desire. I know that I desire total freedom, and I direct the dissolution of all the bonds between any frequencies holding limitations around freedom, around love. For you, we're adding around awareness and my ascension in creation, as well as truly knowing myself as creation and the I am that I am through love and pure joy made manifest. And then what comes up there to ask you is, do you choose that?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't get anything else.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Zoom 5.
Zoom 5. So good. Isabel, thank you so much. And I have a piece of advice for you.
Yeah.
Strong guidance as you're integrating, as your peptides are flowing and they're creating new cells in your body to carry these new beliefs, these new potentials. And they're not potentials, they're actually actualizations that are occurring. Dance for the next week. Turn on music, use your body. When's the last time you danced?
Oh God.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Exactly.
Decades.
Dance.
Yeah. That's all was shut down.
Well, turn it back on.
Yeah, get physical. That's one of the things that I know Dee's talked about it. I call it ISEE in my book, but it's the I'm so excited exercise, which is really feeling into, for you, it'd be like, I'm so excited. You can even make it, I'm so happy. You can make it, I'm so loved, whatever it is. But I'm so happy that I'm loved and I'm able to express. But get up and start moving around. And I'm so happy that I'm learning to be in my body again. Whatever that is for you, but make it, I can see your face starting to go, oh, I don't know. But make it physical for you. And it's okay if it feels weird. It's going to feel weird because you've been taught, don't do that. And this is you claiming yourself back. And so whatever the mind starts to throw at you, pause. No, this is me. I own this body. I own this space. I'm gonna, I don't care. I'm gonna do something funky like a chicken. Whatever. It's just a space that I'm gonna get out of my head and allow myself to be in my body and my energy.
Yeah, my mind is just going back to like instances where I've done that and like stuck out like a sore thumb,
Tenderness. It feels so tender for you.
Yeah.
Like it's like I felt
it was very, very shaming, very like eek, like and unaccepted. So
well, just feel into this, and you don't need my permission. You don't need anyone's permission, but literally I just want you to feel into this, because we all have that space. So just feel into the words, I love you. and it's okay. And you can do it. You know, we just got to sometimes just turn our mind off and feel into it. A lot of times what we feel is our thoughts. Like that's emotion, right? Emotion is thought and feeling. A lot of times we feel into our thought, but we don't take the time to feel into the feeling. And if you'll just feel into the feeling that just says, hey, like I'm here. It's fine. Like you go, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. And the mind starts to chat up again. You go, hey, I'm here. It's cool. Okay, all right. I love myself. So yeah.
And it's beautiful. Thank you, Isabella, for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Oh, so good. All right, let me go to a question that came in from Rosa Maria. Rosa Maria, thank you so much, because a great collective question as well.
That's good expression. Because tuning in, I'm like,
oh, wow. Okay. So what's the best way to stay in divine sovereignty when disempowering messages are being bombarded from everywhere?
Turn it off. Yeah. So, and that goes back to, it's the expression it's the expression to know that you have choice, and then how you exercise and express that choice. When I say there is a belief at play there, yeah. And it's basically, I have to give my power away to create myself, which means that in order to create yourself, you have to buy. Somebody said, don't give those jerks your power. Yeah. But it's the belief that in order to create yourself, you basically have to give yourself over to someone else or some other energy. When I say there's anything deeper than that, no. So it really is, we're going to invoke the formula around that, knowing that I am that I am. I am what I say I am. I have the remote control. And so like frequency, right? Like if you turn on your TV right now, you could tune to channel 4. There are 2,000 TV channels broadcasting out into the world right now. You don't have to tune into them. You can choose what program you watch, or you can turn it off and you don't have to watch any of them. That brings up a thing of powerlessness. When I step, this is interesting. We'll bring the dissolution energy in here. So it's when I step into my power, I become a light. And when I become a light, I'm snuffed out. That goes back into the expression energy. It's also ascended heart. So we're going to invoke the formula around that, around when I step into my light, I am allowed to shine. And not that you need to be allowed, but it's you giving yourself that permission to know that you are safe and that you are free and that you are ultimately loved and supported by the universe. When I say that, for a few people, the back of my head energy goes out. So we're going to bring in a little bit of, this is kind of a different golden light. It's kind of more of a yellow, like, oh, that is a wisdom energy. So we're going to bring that in, just direct all of your energy centers to open up, and around being reborn into a space of receiving the wisdom from who you truly are at the highest levels, which allows you to feel supported and in a space of love and vibrance and joy, and where you are balanced. But balance does not mean planted in a way that you are stuck. Balance means you're rooted, but you can glide and you can move while staying rooted. And then what comes up is accepting freedom. And it's like, if I accept my freedom, I ascend, but ascension equals death. So we want to invoke the formula around that. So that, yeah, there we go. So that as I ascend, I know I expand. And as I expand, I create and invite more and more life into who I am. Some of you have a real, I don't mean this in a negative way, this is just what's coming through. Some of you have a real resistance to being physical and living, but that's the judgment on what life is, or what the world and how the world has been created. Well, you get to be the change, and you don't even have to be the change for other people. That's the great thing. You get to just be the change for you. So again, we're going to bring in a little bit of a pink energy. This is kind of an Andromeda nourishing energy. There we go. Okay. Just kind of let that swirl out there.
Wow, beautiful. So good. All right, we're going to get to know the panelists. Hopefully, we'll ask for grace and ease on this one. See what happens. Jennifer Marshall, I'm promoting you to panelists, and it'll take probably Jennifer just a minute to pop up here. So go through that. So as Jennifer comes up, y'all, Jennifer, you're fast.
Hey, awesome. Jennifer.
Let's get you to unmute yourself.
Let's see. Is there a button they can push, John, to unmute, or is it just they go to that little thing at the bottom and
Go to the bottom. There you go.
Hey, Jennifer.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Okay, so what would be a question? I have this little thing that I've done all my life, a little bit of self-sabotage. It seems like I get really going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do I do with that? Because I'm a pretty positive person. I like, I keep going and going and going, but I tend to get something going really well, and then right at the finish line, I ruin.
So what? Because as soon as you just even got on, it was like they showed me somebody dancing around creation. But there's a reason that you dance around it. There's a belief that you can only. There's two. I'm tuning into everybody, so there's kind of two things that'll come up. You share the first one, which is I can only create once. So it's the idea that I can only do it once, and after I do it, everything's going to be like and awful. So I need to put it off until like I know it's going to be amazing and perfect. The other belief there is that when I create, it's taken from me. So it's kind of like the idea. Yeah, I see you on your head. It's the idea that it's more fun to almost get there because you get to still enjoy the ride and have the fun. If you actually get there, A, that's the only and final time you'll ever get there. And B, once you get there, somebody else is going to come along and take it all from you anyway. So it's kind of like, well, let me stay in the fun part of almost getting it so that I can show everybody that I'm doing all the right things. I'm trying to do everything right. And then I'll keep myself on that ride because that ride is safer than actually creating what I want. Does that all make sense?
It does. I'd like to get off the ride.
I get a yes when you say that. Okay, so let me look at where that comes in for you. Give me a movie title, just first movie that pops into your head.
Well, the first thing that came to my head was Angels, so I guess some angel movie, but I can't think of a title right now.
Okay, that's all right. I actually went to Michael, which is the John Travolta angel movie.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, that's where he was like the angel, but he was kind of like the sloppy angel that really wasn't doing what he was supposed to. So where are we going with you here? Hold on. I'm going to pull this up on the sheets. So what comes up here is thank you, source and creation of all. And then I direct all energy to support me. And when I say you are supported by all energy, I get a no. So when I say what does support mean, for you, it means you have to do it all yourself. So if you were to allow support, that would change your story. But based on the story you have now, allowing support means you have to do it all. And again, if you do it all and you complete it, you're going to get taken out. So let's invoke the formula around that. John, give me the first song that comes into your mind.
I'm going blank on a song, and I'm in the movies now. First song that comes, La Bamba.
Okay, wow. that would be. Oh, it's interesting because usually for me that would be like fun, but then I went to the plane crash. So again, it's that fear that creation for you, particularly now, creation and fun and ease, and the ease is a big one for everybody. So if it's too easy, there's going to be a consequence. If you create what you want and step into your power, there is going to be a consequence, and that consequence is, sorry, I woke my dog up. Does that make sense though?
Oh, complete sense. So how do I shift that?
So we're going to, again, just working with frequency. So we're going to invoke the formula, which is a system of frequencies, but I want you to just direct and right now just say, I am self-love.
I am self-love.
Now I want you to feel it a little bit more.
I am self-love.
So what does it mean to love yourself so much that you say, oh, I created that story. I can chuck that story.
Ooh. Okay. I kind of like that.
Yeah. So yeah. We're doing this for everybody here. So we basically want to redefine what self-love is for you. So we're going to bring in a little bit of that cocktail energy that we were working a minute ago. And the way I describe that is it's kind of like where there was a wall, we remove that wall, or where there was a ceiling, we take it off. Where there were no potentials, we're opening you to those potentials. So direct all of your ley lines to open up. and direct yourself to start connecting into the places where you can complete the circuit of creation. And that's the final piece for you, is completing the circuit of creation. As another circuit flies by. I don't get there's anything else there. There's a little space about what you didn't ask about, which is relationships, but this affects all of that as well.
Isn't that interesting? Okay.
Got it?
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was awesome.
Really strongly also, it's a somatic experience for all of us also. It's the embodiment process that we're stepping into now. So even for you, as Jared's offering this to you and you're saying yes to it, there's still like a holding your breath. And for me, I want you to breathe. And so maybe when you come back and listen to the replay, breathe as this process is going through. We are going through a huge embodiment phase. So all of us who've been super cosmic out there and all this, to land back in, to dance, to do breath work, to go out and move our bodies in primal ways, if you will. Not the exercise and mechanical way, but the primal way, like try to climb a tree, whatever. Have fun with it and the playfulness with it. And I think that's going to allow a lot of the integration, like whatever the mind's processing, the body's going to say, let me help you take that. Let me help you integrate that. So it's going to be beautiful. It's such great facilitation, Jared. Amazing.
Yeah, it takes it out of the mind, and it allows the heart to take over, and it allows that physicality to move in. And I will say this too, John, and just adding on top of what you said, because I'm 100% with you on that. A lot of people that have this, we'll call it an issue, of eating to ground or craving sugar or things like that whenever they do a lot of energy work, if they will actually go out and do that kind of movement, it will integrate that energy in a way where they don't have to consume food to try to integrate the energy that way. So if people out there have kind of an issue or where they're working on weight when they do energy work, if you'll get into that bodily movement, and again, like you said, it's not just like running, or it's not that, actual physical exercise, but that primal just kind of just moving and just kind of really like feeling into your body. Like, I am the whitest person in the world when it comes to dance. I have no rhythm, but like just putting on a song and kind of grooving around, getting into that space and just really allowing, like, even when I just do this, like I feel my body, I feel the energy flow through it. And it's like, wow, like there's this empowerment that comes with that takes you out of this, because this will come in sometimes and be like, you look like an idiot, stop it. But once you can beat, and I say beat because it feels like a battle, but once you transcend that, once you move through that, that's also the same voice that always comes in and says, you're not worthy. Who are you to do all of this? So this is a really good and easy way to start to learn how to flow from the heart and to kind of disengage from all of those old tapes that a lot of us have.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Jennifer, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. That embodiment part was big for me also. For me, it was a big push in my voice, because I don't think I can sing. And I know everybody can sing, but you don't want to hear me singing. At least that was my thought. So I actually started taking singing lessons in different places. And it's not that I ever became a good singer. And it was more about the effort and the giving myself permission of it that opened something up, rather than learning the mechanics or how to express it in a way that was more, for me, more beautiful, because the tonation sounded more pleasant. But just in the trying and in breaking the pattern of the thought and giving myself permission to be imperfect.
Yeah,
to be the best.
That's beautiful. Like, one of the things that I did, like I had I don't really know how, it was kind of like a fear, a control played into it. And so I went to Disney 15 years ago, and I made myself ride every single ride. And the second I went with my friend Segmet, who I think is going to be on your show that people are going to really like, the minute I stepped on, my knee gave out. And like, it felt like I tore my meniscus. Like, it was awful. But I still made myself do it. And John, I'm not even kidding you. The second I left the park, my knee was fine. It was like literally me trying to sabotage myself from doing that. And then I made myself go do the indoor skydiving just to feel my body and to feel what it was like to not have that control. And this was like, the final stages of that anxiety stuff. And to just go, what if it's just, what if I let go? So it's really important to do those things for yourself. I love that you did that. I'll tell you my story with my voice. It was weird that I ended up in the area of doing voice work. I hated my voice so much as a kid. I would never take a solo. I would never sing. I wouldn't even leave a message on an answering machine. I remember I sat next to my choir teacher on a flight. I was probably about 24, 25 at the time, and hadn't seen her in a while. And she was asking me what I did. And at the time I was the voice of White Castle. And she literally looked at me like, you use your voice for a living now? But it was the same thing, because like I had so much judgment and insecurity around it. And then learning to use it, it was like, it's like, here I am, world, like, so yeah, I love that you did that.
Amazing. Again, I love what's coming through the callers, through the questions. This is an important question that's coming through, because I'm hearing this from so many different people. So Monique, thank you for writing this in. Before I read Monique's question, I actually want to remind you, we're going to run this replay all weekend long, and you'll be able to watch or listen. So I want to make it really accessible to you guys. So after today's call, give us about an hour, hour and a half. We'll let the video run, and we'll send out a replay link so that you can access it. And you can always access replays on the show by going to our website, beyondtheordinaryshow.com, and just put in /replay, and it'll take you to the replay page. So just know that you can access it there. Of course, Jared's special offer, 2 payment option. It is jam-packed. So it's just, I'm excited. I'm not even going to get further into it, because y'all have gone through it. Click on the page, add it to the shopping cart, start receiving the downloads. Amazing. Amazing what's there. All right, Monique, thank you. Jared, I'm unable to make progress despite being busy and doing things. Small tasks seem to take so long to complete. I feel like I'm not making progress. Can you feel into what might be holding me back?
Yeah, and this is, again, not a judgment. This is just the first thing that came up, was I don't want to. So when I say, what don't you want to do, create comes up. But then there's like this whole swirling in your brain. So there's some genetic stuff. So the first place we're going is that I accept, I know, and experience in joyful ways that I am the creation of all creation, which means that tells me that you've given those keys away to somebody. It's a male energy. It feels, well, it's interesting because there's your mom energy in there, but then when I say the male energy is your dad, it's not, but it feels like that. So there's kind of this, it's almost like a patriarchal energy. So that would tell me that it's a little bit of some past life stuff as well. So when I look at, okay, what is your resistance to creating beyond the part of I don't want to, the song that comes up is sit down, sit down, sit down, you're rocking the boat. So this kind of goes back to something we talked about a minute ago, which is it's the belief basically that for you, when you create, you are imposing creation on someone else. You are rocking their boat by being who you are. So you are turning yourself down and turning yourself off so that everyone else can be comfortable with who they are. In other words, you're not shining so your light doesn't get in their eyes. That's the best way I can say it. There's a fear that's related to that, but that's really what it's about. It's about taking back, and I don't mean like taking it from somebody, but about like realizing within you, hey, I don't need to dim my light. I can allow myself to shine, and really letting yourself shine. Something else came up around that space of shining. John, will you give me another? I know you said you don't like songs, but will you give me another one?
Shine the light on me. I mean, that's
okay. So this is interesting. So when you said that, like, I see like this positive thing, but what I saw was a magnifying glass and an ant. So there's this thing of my light, the very thing that will, and I'm going to use this term because this is how it shows up in the energy. The very thing that will save me is the very thing that destroys me. That's actually a really big one. There's a little bit of genetic, it's religion, but religion can also be the stories that we have about who we are and the dogma that we adhere to within ourselves. But this goes into the religion of who and what creation is. So let's invoke the formula around all of that, around being able to celebrate and shine your light so brightly that it doesn't matter. Again, it goes back to that thing earlier about there's a little bit of you that is wanting to save other people, but you believe that to save them, you have to dim your light so they can receive you. But in doing that, you turn yourself completely off and you never allow yourself to create yourself. So by turning your light completely on, you actually free yourself and you actually give them the freedom to choose for them, because you serve then as a reminder for the sovereignty that they possess.
Beautiful. Something that's coming up for me in a very granular level also is part of the collective swirling, the hamster wheel that's going on right now. And it's like we're trying to make progress, but we're getting caught up in everybody. It feels like we're all going together. So we're getting caught in everybody and so many other people's, not everybody, so many other people's loops that it's hard for us to pluck ourselves out slowly and go, this is the choice I'm making in service to me, but also in service to humanity.
Yeah. And I don't mean this in an offensive way. That is one way. Oh, good. Monique said, thank you. Wow. That's one way that COVID has actually served, is it gave us a space, because most people would not have chosen. They would be like, I want to, but they wouldn't have chosen to go home for 2 months and have to sit, and this was a space of, okay, it was time that you could, if you chose, to really reflect on that. But that's a very important vibration that is still going on and is still going to continue on for several months, is what's mine, what's not mine. And in allowing yourself to unravel that, you also re-give yourself the ability to take what is yours and create something different with and from it.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, Jared, because as I look at all this, as you speak about this, the image I'm getting, we live in a field of unlimited potentials, and our experience is we're plucking a potential from the field and we're focusing, our presence is on it in human form. And so what's coming up as we're churning so rapidly in the way that you said it, we're able to slow down that potential that we plucked out of that infinite field that we're experiencing it, and going micro on it again and slowing it down enough and going, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what's happening here. I'm going to pluck a new potential from that field and see what I'm going to experience based on that probability. And so threads.
That's when we, some people will talk about that. I've said it like this before, is like timelines, different timelines, but you're just looking at different potentialities. And it's the ability to go, oh, okay, we live so fast that we don't realize that we're on that road. We're on that strand that we've picked. And when we slow down, we realize, like, wait, I see where this road is going. Why am I still on it? I can pluck that. I can pick a new one and let that completely change course.
Yeah, I'm seeing the movie The Matrix when Neo slows down and dodges all the bullets, right? It's like, oh, wait, I can see. And now he's plucking it. It's like, oh, look, this is a bullet. I can look at it. Wow, I'm not afraid of it anymore. Let me put it aside. And it feels like we're, in a sense, doing that, which is amazing, amazing. And cognitively, it doesn't make sense, but energetically, that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's like I said, who we've been, because that shows us what are the patterns, what are the choices I've made, why did I make those choices, who am I now? Okay, what are the choices I'm making now? Well, who do I want to become? Is this strand? Is this potential? Is this potentiated energy who I want to become? Okay, well, now how can I start to change the frequency and shift that so that I can now create those new strands and step into that whole new environment in that world?
Yeah, so exciting. Oh my God. Y'all, this is awesome. Jared, this has been such a great conversation. I think Jared and I are going to do another Q&A on a special call, maybe in a different format, but I think that's going to have to come up. But before then, y'all get into this program with Jared. Freaking amazing. Click on the special offer button. Go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Jared22, or April will type in, I'm sure any second now, the link in the chat box. See, he beat me to it. Gosh, he's
boom, there it is.
I put that.
If nothing else, because I went over them. If you'll read the descriptions of the frequency tracks, you'll get a feel of that energy. So even if nothing else, just go read it and start to feel into it, and you'll start to be like, oh,
I want to experience the symbols also. The symbols seem so cool.
Yeah.
And there's so many comments about the silent tracks and people listening to them at work or in their car and how they felt about them.
Oh my gosh, I've had a lot of those stories. some of my favorites are like people that work in cubicles with, and I know like a lot of people are home right now, but like I can turn them on and my dog is out cold right now. So like she loves them. But I've heard people that are like, I had this worker that was next to me driving me nuts, and I started playing them, and like suddenly like they would start to come over and then they would like walk away because they didn't resonate with the energy, you know? And that really, this is what I created them for me to use with my own family, like during the holidays. That was the initial creation of it. And I remember my dad at one point, I put some like inner child healing because I knew a lot of my family, you know, needed that. We were playing it through the house, and I remember my mom saying like, I feel drunk. This is weird. I haven't had anything to drink. My dad started to walk in and he was like very angry and yelly, and he started to, and then and he turned around and walked out. My mom goes, I don't know what you put in these, but I definitely want to keep playing.
Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh, Jared, thank you so much. This has been so much fun today. And again, the comments and the energy on this call and the love I feel has just been off the charts amazing. Thank you all for showing me what's possible as we keep accelerating and saying yes to this amazing, amazing call. Wonderful to have you on. Thank you.
Hey, I love it, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll do it again. So we'll see everybody again. And I love you all. Thank you for having me, John. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you for being on the call, for joining us, for opening your heart, your minds, and you're gifting us your presence. Gifting us your presence. And for me, time is where my presence is. So to receive that from you, it's such a gift. And it's with that I bow to you and namaste. Send you all my love, a huge hug, and look forward to seeing you on the next call. Have a great day.